Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Silent Hill podcast. As I had mentioned on my Facebook page, I was going to go ahead and redo or finish essentially the Silent Hill 2 podcast videos. I've been watching some more of the actual walkthrough on YouTube, and so I have some new items here. I wanted to backtrack though a little bit. Last time I had talked about the boss battle that was with Eddie Dombrowski, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about the other boss that was encountered right before Eddie, because it seemed like these two bosses were in that strange place in Silent Hill 2 known as the Labyrinth. It was one of those unending set of hallways and corridors that kept looping one after the other. I was kind of tuning in and tuning out while the player was getting through all of those hallways. But it was a pretty interesting location because by far it has some of the most highest forms of symbolism around Silent Hill 2. And so the boss that was encountered before Eddie Dombrowski was this one, which is called the Abstract Daddy. And so that's going to be this video here. Now, the Abstract Daddy, by far, and this is probably the biggest one yet, follows the theme within Silent Hill 2 where things are very much so sexualized. In fact, if you thought, for example, one of my earlier videos with the flesh lips was sexualized, this one by far turns it up to another notch. And it has to do with the boss battle pretty much of Angela Orozco's, I guess, monster of sorts. It's weird because Silent Hill always makes it ambiguous. You never ever know if the characters are seeing the same monster as is. So Angela, in this case, most likely, because this is her monster, is most likely just seeing her daddy. In this case, that's why it's called Abstract Daddy. But in this case, the main character, James Sunderland, when he encounters this thing, he's seeing it a different way, which is how us as viewers see this monster. So very, very appropriate name when it comes to Abstract Daddy, because there's no clear definition of it other than the fact that there's a good chance that two different characters see it two different ways. So what is the Abstract Daddy? Again, it's one of those bosses found within the labyrinth. Very, very, very sexualized. You can see from the image here, right off the bat, it looks like it's essentially a male-like figure sitting or laying on top of someone or something within a weird configuration of a bed of some sort. And then, of course, following the usual stuff with Silent Hill, it has a very disgusting, sick layer of skin rounding out the top part of it, almost like it's vacuumed into the skin itself, and the skin is stretched out over the bed as well. You can't really see the other figure that's lying underneath the male-like figure, but it's presumed that it's going to be a female, again because of the fact that this has to be, in this case, Angela's monster of sorts. The game itself never outright states it, but it's heavily, heavily suggested that Angela essentially went through some kind of either rape or sexual molestation with either both her dad and or her brother. Her dad went by the name of Thomas Orozco, and so that's why most symbolisms state that the Abstract Daddy, is her father. Her brother, by the way, apparently also has his own monster of sorts, and I'll talk about it here in a minute. It's like a smaller version of the Abstract Daddy, and it is found later on within the game, within I guess some of the hallways of the hotel. Now, as far as the Abstract Daddy and its boss battles, it's apparently a relatively easy monster to beat. All you have to do, just like the theme seems to follow within the game, is you're in an enclosed corridor and you're pretty much surrounded by walls, and you don't have much room to move around in, but you can essentially just run left and right, back and forth, just trying to dodge this Abstract Daddy, whose main attack seems to be, in a way, again, that's very sexualized. It tries to mount itself or put itself on top of James, and then that way you can utilize whatever it has underneath itself to, I don't know if it's swallowing James or trying to eat him or anything along those lines, but it does damage James itself. And so when that happens, all you have to do is just run around as much as you can, easily dodge this thing. It wasn't too hard. I didn't see the player on YouTube having a much difficult time with this, and then just fire at it repeatedly. I think if I recall correctly, the player was utilizing a shotgun, and when that happens, it didn't take too long to bring this thing down. The room itself, by the way, is very notable too. Again, heavily drawing on the idea that Angela was molested, because the room itself looks flesh-like. Then there's these holes that are within the walls themselves, and then most prominently there's a set of pistons or something within those holes that keep coming in and going out, again heavily alluding to the fact that she was sexually molested. There's even the idea that the number of holes that are within the wall itself represent, in this case, the number of times that she was also sexually molested too. So there's that notion as well. With regards to the abstract daddy, and then I was mentioning earlier the brother. I don't recall the name of the brother. Somebody might need to let me know. I don't even know if he has a name. But the brother has his own version of an abstract daddy, a smaller version, found within various parts of the hotel. You're looking at one of the pictures here. It's pretty much the same thing. It's the abstract daddy, but just a smaller version. And this one, it's even easier to beat. All you have to do, I believe, is just shoot it once or twice, and then that's it. You'll beat the boss, or I'm sorry, the mini boss. In this case, being the mini version of the abstract daddy. And then that's it. Not much really else when it comes to their attacks. I was surprised that this was considered a boss of some sorts, because it seemed very easy. But again, I don't know if the whole intention was to make it, I guess, somewhat of, let's say again, more of Angela's battle rather than in the main character, in this case, James's battle as well. No other real presence of the abstract daddy later on within the game, or later on within any of the other franchise games, probably due to the fact, of course, that since this was mainly Angela's monster and she never appeared within any of the other Silent Hill games, then it would reason that this particular monster would not come out as well too. The only other interesting note that I could say with regards to this monster is the fact that it does emit some kind of scream within it. I don't know if it's like a torment of some sort, but if you listen carefully, you can hear that as well. And again, it's supposed to represent her abuse towards the monster too. So other than that, this is the main information with regards to the abstract data. If anyone has anything else that I might have missed, that would be interesting to hear. About the only other thing I guess worth mentioning with abstract daddy is, I believe it is within the new pachinko slot or whatever that thing is that the Silent Hill makers are doing with regards to their own slot machines. And you'll see a picture of it here. It's called Pachi Slot, so it looks like it is making a somewhat informal presence again within another version of Silent Hill. I don't know if these Pachi slots could be considered, I guess, Silent Hill games, only because of the fact that they have to do more of casino slots rather than actual video games themselves, but this is about the only other thing worth mentioning with regards to the abstract daddy. So alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.